Hey everyone, this is Chanyo66 from RC Groups and FPV Labs. I meant to do this a while back, just got extremely busy with work and didn't have time to really fly this thing because of how big it is. So figured I'd do a review. This is my second one that I've owned. The first one I found one of the main faults on it. So I'll go over a basic review of the stock airframe first, and then I'll explain upgrades and modifications. So when you first get the Superskysurfer, I got this one from Banana Hobby. It comes with a 3S setup for the ESC and the stock motor. Works great. It has enough power to fly around, do whatever you want, with up to right around to like 3,000, 3,300 milliamp battery on 3-cell. The servo linkages, the servos are actually inside. They're mounted. Let me get this out of the way here. I took all my FPV gear out so that we can see in here easier. And let me get this wiring out of the way here. So I took my receiver out as well because there was a whole rat's nest inside here. So the original servos sit right in here and have push rod tubes that run back through here. They run all the way to the back and come out to your elevator and rudder. But they use a very thin rod, and that was one of the first things that people started talking about. Everything else on the aircraft, the servos, I never had an issue with the stock servos. I actually still have the stock servos through the entire thing. Not sure what brand they actually are, but they work all right. It's another one of those upgrade options. The spar that comes in it is an extremely heavy fiberglass spar. It's solid fiberglass. Many people were thinking it was actually aluminum or steel because of how it is. It's a very strange feel to it. It comes with 2 spars. It has your main 1/2-inch spar and then another, I believe it's like a 1/4 inch that runs just out a little ways here into both wings. There's nothing that the spars pass through in the center, like a locking block or anything like that. The stock prop, straight out, throw it away. As soon as you get the plane, throw the prop away. It is completely worthless. Go to your local hobby shop or order it when you order this plane. Get an APC and you'll be much happier. I run a 8x6 on here and it works very well. The stock little canopy is alright. My first one, I actually used the stock canopy to make all my FPV gear. And just took this off, took the little guy out, mounted my FPV gear on there. But if you're just going to be a line of sight flyer, it just clips right in here. It has a very nice one. Let's see if it'll go back in. Oh, somehow my magnet collected a screw. There we go. And it just sets right in there. So overall, the stock aircraft was pretty good. So I will continue on to the. Actually, let's touch on the flight characteristics real quick. A lot of people were saying that they had issues with tip stalling. I never had an issue with the tip stall because I used full aileron and rudder, or full controls. Also had flaperon mixing on the 2 inner flaps rather than running just ailerons. I had the flaperons mixed in as well, which gave it amazing control. I was able to walk it in at less than 15 miles an hour to land with no issues of stalling. Under low speeds though, I do highly recommend ruddering around, which this does have decent rudder authority. Some of you that are used to more sporty planes are going to complain about it, but for the size of this, it has decent rudder authority. The ailerons are more than adequate. The flaps definitely slow it down. If you don't set up your flaps correctly, you could easily stall it out. A lot of people are talking about running it like 90% on the throws. I have mine at 75 because I have the 25% flapron mixing in there for the ailerons. But other than that, I just take this off, or I hand launch it. And I can't say what it was like with the stock hand launch because I've always run this one on 4S. So most people are saying that on the stock 3S, you have to give it a little more power to throw it. This one I can launch just above half throttle and work it up from there with two 5,000 milliamp 4Ss that I fly in it. The downfalls of this airframe. First thing is the ESC is only rated to 3S. If you put 4S in it, it will run, but they blow up very quick. You're going to be putting extra stress on there because the components aren't actually made for higher voltage. So they will burn out. So it's one of those things, you can run 4S on it, and you can post all day long on this video that you're running 4S on your stock ESC, and good for you. Hopefully it keeps it in the air. I changed mine to Eternity Trust 45 or 55 amp ESC with the SBEC installed, which I haven't had an issue actually running the SBEC in here with the stock servos. I do have a dedicated BEC only for my flaps, so they get their own power, because flaps, when they are deployed, use a lot of power because the wind is just constantly pushing on this, unlike an aileron where it's just a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's pulling amperage this whole time that it's up and the whole time that it's down, but when it's idle, it's not really doing anything. When flaps, if you are flying around with it at a certain percentage, it's going to have an issue. I actually disconnected the servos on this so that I could move them around and share everything easier. The first drawback after the ESC is the only electronic change I would do. Like I said, the servos are alright. They do fine. But for the chassis, this section right here is extremely thin on where it connects to the body. And you can see here that that's the wing inside. So if I move this out, that's the wing box. So there's nothing really there. You have this little strip, like half-inch strip of foam that comes into a block that's maybe 1 inch. So you don't have much in there. First thing, get it out of the box, reinforce it. You can see that I have fiber tape on mine. I went a little more extreme than that. You can check out my build on my blog on RC groups, because I actually did a paracord and I embedded it in here with epoxy, then did fiber tape, and then went over it with this 3mm laminate. So I have a lot of strength in here now. The back actually has an added carbon spar installed. So that's where my last aircraft failed. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend reinforcing this and the back section where it actually wraps around the back of the wing. Reinforce both of those, because if you run anything more than a 3300 milliamp, your motor and your plane are not going to go in the same direction at one point. So reinforce that. Second thing that I never ran into, but a lot of people talked about it, so on this build I decided to take preventative maintenance on it, and that would be relocating the servos from in here to the back. Most people were just talking about the elevator servo, but I figured while I'm doing that one, might as well do the rudder as well. So what I did was, the original servos have a tube that comes out here, and it is a push up. So that means the servo has to push to move your elevator up. Downfall of that is if it gets bound, it has a higher chance of getting bound down, which is a dive. That is not good. Banana Hobby should have thought that through. Or Blitz RC. They're actually the labeled makers of this. So I have changed mine to a pull up, and it's a push. Yes, pull up. So that means that if for some reason this bar got bent, it's going to be in the up position rather than in a complete dive. Up position, yes, it's going to try and stall, but you can at least ride it back. Throttling down and riding the stall. This thing has plenty of power to do that. I mean, I could almost high alpha this. So better to have it get stuck up than down, because down, good luck. It's toast. You can see all over RC groups and FPV labs of the people who've toasted their aircraft because they haven't done anything to this rear servo. I did the same thing to the rudder, which is actually extreme overkill for a rudder, because now I have a very stiff rudder assembly. My receiver antenna is embedded in here with the wiring to my nav lights, because I fly this at night. You can see one of the videos on my YouTube channel of the lights over Oak Ridge, where I do a night flight of it. I still have the stock motor in here. Works great on 4S. A lot of people have been changing it, but I have no issues with this guy. My other one never had any heating issues. This one doesn't have any heat issues. They did a good job on the motor, and the stock ESC is supposedly good. I actually use it in a couple of my other model planes that only run 3-cell. So, a couple other modifications that I've done is just mainly cosmetics. Adding in landing lights. These are actually from Home Depot. They're 3-watt LEDs, extremely bright. You can check out my blog to see some pictures of those. And then I have nav lights on the wingtips, and these are reverse controlled. Some of the circuitry is reversed on here, so I can negatively polarize them to create strobes on the wingtip, because LEDs are specific on which direction you connect them to power. So if you connect one way, one the other, they will turn on opposite when the power is inverted. But anyways, that is all just cosmetic. The spar, I replaced the fiberglass spar with a hollow tube carbon fiber spar from goodwins.com, and I shaved tons of weight off. The stock spar in here is extremely heavy. It does its job. Haven't seen anyone have any issues with it breaking, but it's just heavy. So I have a hollow carbon fiber 1/2-inch tube in here now. It's a full 60-inch length. I personally take the aircraft apart every time I go to the field. I don't have any issues with it coming apart, like bringing it home or anything like that, or in flight. That some people say that it wears out. I don't have any issues with that. I actually don't have the spar installed here, and if I can get this wing out, I'll show you that I use a latching connector that runs to all of my servos, and my LED lighting is on a single connection. So that way it's a single plug, it's going to lock in. I don't have to worry about which servo plug goes where. I don't have to worry about if vibrations in the wing is going to move this thing, because it's not. These are, I got these from Hanson Hobby. They're the latching servo style connectors. So they work really well. And I'm not even going to put that back together. So overall, this is an amazing aircraft. The reports of tip stalls and things, like I said, haven't run into that. Haven't run into any strange characteristics. I actually handed it to a friend that has never flown RC before. And I did the takeoff and landing, but he did all the rest of the flight, and you wouldn't have even been able to tell that he wasn't, or never had touched a RC remote before. So, extremely easy to fly, no real issues there. It'll glide forever. On a single 5,000 milliamp, I can fly for a good hour. It's a 5004S, so 14 volt. But besides that, everything else, I would definitely recommend this plane. For a beginner, it is big, but it is easy. I would, for someone first starting out, change the servo location, reinforce the top, or the actual wing box, and run a light battery. Just run like a 3300, shove it all the way in the nose, and that's all you really need. Don't go big to start out. This, on a 3300, plenty of enjoyment. You can fly way longer than most beginners would ever fly. I do some extreme RC or extreme FPV flights, so I do very long duration. I mean, many people are not flying for 40 minutes, 50 minutes straight. So that is why I'm running 4S. You can get away fine with 3S and a 8x6 prop. I run 4S and an 8x6 and still runs perfect. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I will try to cover anything, or if you have any questions on the airframe itself, like the easy way that I ran the wiring to the back, because my body came as a solid piece, not split in half. So I had to run the wiring all the way through all of the supports. And if you want to see what the insides look like, you can check out my blog at rcgroups.com, because I have the pictures of my crashed Superskysurfer, and I'll try to put a link to that in the description of this video. And that is about it. The only other thing that I would cover is the stock little guy here. Great setup, especially for people doing FPV. Take the guy off, take this cover off, throw your FPV gear right there. Done. It's got the magnets in it that pick up screws when you set it on your workbench. And it just clips right in there. Works great. This is how I did my first one. And never had any issues with it. Had my transmitter mounted right behind the guy's head, and my camera right where the guy sits. And did some amazing flights with it. Or, if you want to spend some time, I just hand built this by measuring out this guy. And it's just a full carbon fiber, actual carbon fiber, not the fake printed stuff. And it's a full 180 degree pan tilt assembly that I mount my GoPro, and I also mount 2 ready-made RC 700 XVN cameras on it for my night flights, because sadly the GoPro does not do what I want for night flights. I like to actually see where I'm landing rather than just have a black dead space. So GoPro, if you guys are out there, fix the night vision. Give us more capability. But FPV, pretty cool. No, I don't have plans for this thing because I just hand built it. I basically laid out each plate of this and on the carbon and was like, okay, traced it, laid it down, traced the bottom, roughly traced the front because of that nose that's on there, and then got the angles that it sits at and made the little side plates and made them the width for my servo. So my servo actually mounts in there, and I have some extra plates in there to change the servo position because I used to have it mounted sideways. And then the top, I just cut some squares, epoxied it all together, and it uses a fiberglass pin for the pivot, carbon fiber bottom plate for the pan, and the servos are just epoxied on. So pretty simple, and definitely for something like this where you can fly forever, gives you a very good platform. So overall, great aircraft. Thanks for watching.